Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. We've got a lot to cover, and, here we are a week and a day after Thanksgiving. Usually, in the world of news and politics, everything shuts down in Washington in the month of December. It really does, other than when Trump's president of the United States. There's very little news. Nothing gets done. And President Trump, who is working 20 to 21 hours a day, has things going on all of the time. Yesterday we had the big arrest with the J6 bomber, which I'll cover a little bit more of that today. I covered a lot of that on the live stream this morning, and there's a lot more going on. Now, there's some big drops that just came out of the White House involving Tim Walz and the stolen $1 billion by the Somalians of Minnesota. And there's been a mass deportation ICE operation going on in Minnesota that's been rounding up a lot of people. And there's been some major breaks from the White House I'm going to go over in a few minutes about all of these things. I want to say a couple things, though. One, a lot of times these stories of corruption come out and people say, well, no one's going to go to jail, And I know that seems to happen a lot, right? What's going on with Letitia James as an example. Some Democrat, wasn't it a Clinton judge, tossed out her indictment, and then a grand jury yesterday in Virginia refused to indict Letitia James on mortgage fraud. And Letitia James is clearly guilty of this and much, much more. Everybody knows this, and she may have seemed to have gotten away with it. The people we want to get on the lawfare list of criminal conspirators, that's our dream, and it should happen, and no one's above the law, and I get that, and I agree with you all on that. But after they got the pipe bomber yesterday, and I've been with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, I really got to tell you, they're very vindicated in my eyes, okay? A lot of things that went on January 6th. Now, that being said, when you look at people like Letitia James or what's going on right now with Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar looks worried to me. Ilhan Omar looks like she's very worried about what's going on in Minnesota with the financial corruption. She's not acting her normal self on television interviews at all. She's usually very snarky, very condescending, right? Very arrogant. She looks terrified. She looks very worried, like they're on to her. Okay, so I don't know. We'll find out. But Ilhan Omar is not acting like her normal self. But even if none of these people go to jail, which they all should, and Ilhan Omar, all that stuff that President Trump's been talking about, her immigration status and all of that, all those things should happen. The likelihood of all of them happening are unlikely, but they all should happen. And I'm not disagreeing that they all should happen. However, the American people, even though a lot of these lawfare people will never face justice as they should, the American people have been woken up out of the Matrix like never before. Right? The whole term red pilled is a reference to the first Matrix movie, right? If you haven't seen The Matrix or you haven't seen it in a long time, go and watch it. It's about what we're living through right now. And anywhere there's Democrats in control, there's insane corruption being exposed. And while they may not go to jail, they may of it. And that'll have a long-term impact on all of this. And, one of the reasons that Republicans didn't do as well as they should have over the years is because we didn't have leadership that bucked the establishment like President Trump and the new wave of MAGA people we have in all these different offices to go up against the establishment. While it's important for all these people to get indicted and go to prison, it's not happening like we want it to happen. But the new crop of people that get elected to public office in the future, people like Letitia James and Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi and all these people, it's going to be more difficult for corrupt Tim Walz, Kamala. It's going to be more and more difficult for corrupt politicians like this that are on the take or selling out the country and are corrupt to get elected in the future, because people understand that there is another way. So in that sense, there is justice, and things are happening. So I wanted to share some of the things going on here. This was put out by the White House today. It's Dr. Oz.
It's true. A Somali fraud ring in Minnesota stole over $1 billion from Medicaid. How did this happen? Well, Medicaid programs are run by the states, which in Minnesota means the Tim Walz, because they were afraid of, quote-unquote, political backlash. Don't take my word for it. That's what a Somali-American fraud investigator told the New York Times.
Yep.
When these scammers realized that nobody was guarding the cash register, they went gangbusters. One program designed to provide housing stabilization is said to cost only $2.6 million. Some of these taxpayer funds may have even ended up in the hands of a Somalian terrorist group. Scary stuff. When CMS became aware of the housing program situation, Minnesota insisted it could clean up its own mess. A few months ago, it admitted it could not. So we stepped in to shut down the fraud-infested housing initiative. Today, we're taking action on more than a dozen other programs, which I've outlined in the post below. Our message to Walz is clear. Either fix this in 60 days or start looking under your couch for spare change, because we are done footing the bill for your incompetence. This administration will never stop fighting to protect the vulnerable Americans who rely on these programs and the taxpayers who fund them. We're going to crush waste, fraud, and abuse.
Okay, so this pretty amazing thing. This started with the big, beautiful bill, okay? The big, beautiful bill, which cut off Medicaid and other types of federal funding to illegals. Blue states, California, Minnesota, blue cities inside red states, their entire state government is set up on getting reimbursed by the federal government on Medicaid, housing, and SNAP benefits and many other things through the federal government. That's all been cut off by President Trump in the big, beautiful bill. It's going to happen in Minnesota next. And we're just into this. And the big, beautiful bill doesn't kick in until after the first of the year. So next year, which is our big election year, right? Our midterm election year, which we have to treat like a presidential election year. We need to have a massive turnout like it's a presidential election. This election next year, the midterm election, is just as important as the presidential election was to get Trump reelected to the second and non-consecutive term. We not only need to maintain control of the Congress, we need to gain seats of good MAGA people so we can get these things through. And it is possible to do. We just need a big turnout. That's why we won in Nashville this week, because we had a turnout. If we had an off-year special election low turnout, that Democrat lunatic would have won. But when the big, beautiful bill kicks in after the first of the year, these blue states, California, Minnesota, New York, and others, are going to go into a state of financial crisis because they still have the illegals in their states, in their cities, and they're still going to the emergency rooms and the free clinics and that aren't free, right, to get treatment, but they're not going to get reimbursed from the federal government. So these cities and states are going to be in a major financial crisis because of it in an election year. This is going to be a big turn. And, you know, Mike Lindell is running for governor of Minnesota, of MyPillow fame. By the way, promo code Kane. Lindell can win this against, you know, Walz is running for re-election right now. Tim Walz is running for re-election when one of the biggest financial scandals in the history of the United States government, maybe the largest financial scandal at a state level with a governor in history, is being uncovered right now. And this is going to be uncovered more as we get into January and February. And Mike Lindell, who may not have had a chance before because the establishment was pretty entrenched, you know, the last election cycle or two, now people, believe me, people in Minnesota are fed up with what's going on. They are. And the Somali vote is losing its impact overnight because of the ICE operations. I was showing some local news reports on my live stream this morning. If you missed it, go and watch it. They were going to shopping malls that are normally packed and busy that are ghost towns. They're like abandoned malls because ICE is out there on the job, okay? So the Democrat Party put this out on the official White House website today. This is who Democrats like Tim Walz are defending. I'm going to read through this. Listen to this. This is a White House press release on the White House site today. The streets of Minneapolis are safer today thanks to the hard work of immigration and customs enforcement and their federal partners during Operation Metro Surge. Operation Metro Surge is obviously the deportation operation going on in Minnesota. President Trump has long and rightly called out the problems associated with unchecked Somali refugee resettlement in Minnesota. Aside from the massive fraud scandal that bilked taxpayers out of $1 billion with a B, the state's Somali population has also become exceptionally vulnerable to radicalization, with terror networks viewing Minnesota as prime recruitment grounds. Thankfully, the Trump administration is taking strong and decisive action. In addition to pausing migration from third world countries incompatible with American values, which is probably almost every, if not every, third world country, the Trump administration is also swiftly removing public safety threats off the streets of Minneapolis, as Democrats like Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Fry sanctimoniously complain. That mayor is one of the strangest people I've ever seen in public life. Have you seen that video of him at the Somali restaurant with a mouthful of the Somali food? It's very strange. He's sitting there trying to embrace Somali culture, and he clearly can't stand the food, and he doesn't want to swallow it. He's got a mouthful of Somali food that tastes terrible, and he doesn't know what to do with it. He can't spit it out because everybody's looking at him. But back to the White House here. Here are only a few of the would-be astronauts and scientists who are no longer terrorizing the streets of Minneapolis thanks to Operation Metro Surge. And they show the mugshots. Ahmed Mohammed Saeed, a criminal illegal from Somalia. He has convictions for domestic violence 2 times, 3 DUIs, 3 trespassing charges, assault on a peace officer, assault, disorderly conduct, obstructing transit, whatever that is, theft of services, what's that? Damaging property, probation violations, and more. Abdul Qadir Sharif Abdi, a criminal illegal from Somalia. He's a member of the Almighty Vice Lord Nation Gang and a former member of the Gangster Disciples. He has convictions for fraud, receiving stolen property, receiving a stolen vehicle, vehicle theft, and multiple probation violations. These are all people picked up this week by Tom Holman in Minnesota. Shahil Osman Shadain, a criminal illegal from Somalia. He's a Mukhtar Mohammed Ali, not the boxer, a criminal illegal from Somalia. He has convictions for domestic assault, fraud, robbery, and larceny. I mean, these are the worst crimes people could commit. Faisal Muhammad Omar, a criminal illegal from Somalia. He's charged with 2 counts of domestic violence. The Trump administration will continue to be unrelenting in its mission to make the streets of America's cities safe for the law-abiding citizens who live there. You know, what President Trump's doing, I've been calling it this for quite some time. It's a reset that he's doing, right? It's a reset. He's resetting our country and our world and resetting everything back to the factory defaults where it's supposed to be, right? You know, your computer's giving you trouble, you turn off the computer and reboot it. He's rebooting the entire country and the planet, President Trump. this country has gotten out of control. And it's 98% Obama, all Obama. And these populations that are being deported in mass all over the country. Right now, we're talking about Minnesota this week and today and right now. But that's what Obama was doing during his administration. During the 8 years of the Obama regime, he was bringing people here from all over the world by the millions. They were planting them around and then recruiting people like Ilhan Omar to run for office. And then, boom, they're entrenched. And then look what's happening. And the corruption happens because in the third world, that's a way of life. You know, sometimes I see that, you know, you go to places where, you know, like open air flea markets and things like this, you know, and there's all that bartering going on and all that stuff. It's like the third world. It's like the third world. And that's what's that. This wave of Somalians is not an immigrant community that's created a new community, right? It's an anarchy. It's people transplanted from an anarchy that are rebuilding a new anarchy inside of our own country. And the thieving that they're doing, they don't even view it as theft, because in Somalia, this is just how things are done, through corruption with those that are in power. And there's been a lot of reporting coming out of Minnesota and the Somali corruption with this $1 billion scandal, that there's a lot of conflicts inside the Somalian community that's tribal. There's conflicts between Somalian tribes where there's a lot of this going on. And today, there were some stories that came out that were showing that Ilhan Omar is connected, has multiple connections to people that were stealing the money. So, you know, that's the way of it. So don't let anyone tell you that nothing's happening. A lot is happening. Right? Remember Stacey Abrams ran for governor of Georgia a few times? Remember that? Remember when the second Trump term started, Doge found out that they had the federal government had deposited, what was it, $1 billion in the bank account of some foundation that she started that did nothing? It was a new account. They dropped like $1 billion and they took it back. They wouldn't have taken that back if Trump had not been reelected. And what's happened is this huge scandal that Democrats have going on all over the country. Stacey Abrams with that thing in Georgia they caught her with, Tim Walz's Minnesota, all these things, USAID, the drug car. Obviously, the Democrats and the deep state have an investment in the drug cartel business. They're fighting too hard to stop Trump from stopping it, right? So, yeah, I know, it's insane. He has cut off their money. It may be hard to go through the courts with these indictments because there's so many hack, corrupt Democrat judges that keep tossing out cases and tossing out indictments or corrupt grand juries and such. But President Trump has gotten something from them that is better in many ways. He's cut off their money. Remember, Rush Limbaugh used to say, all Democrats care about is power. That's true, but the reason they want the power is so that they can steal the money, like these things we're talking about. And Trump cutting off their money, that is a form of justice that, believe me, is worse than a handful of people going to prison, because there's a lot more people that are getting this corrupt money. There's more people getting paid off than we could imagine at every different level. It's not like one or two people got that $1 billion. They had to spread the wealth around a little bit. So cutting off their money is justice in itself. Now, my name's Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. If you are new, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. The Brian Craig Show podcast is available on all podcast platforms, okay? That's right. Just go to wherever you get your podcast and search for The Brian Craig Show, and I'll pop right up. If you want to catch the program live in video form, Go to YouTube or YouTube Music and search for The Brian Craig Show on YouTube or YouTube Music. If you'd like to call in, you can do that. If you're watching live, the number is pinned in the live chat. It's 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll take a quick break and be right back. Sometimes the hardest thing to ask for is help. And yet behind closed doors, millions of families are struggling with the basics. The light bill, the rent, the phone that keeps them connected to work and school. Not because they failed, but because life hits hard. That's why there's CloakedCare.com, a first-of-its-kind platform built on dignity, privacy, and real compassion. At CloakedCare.com, people can privately post the essential bills they're fighting to keep up with. Utilities, medical cost, rent, phone, and more. And donors can choose a bill and pay directly toward it, with funds sent straight to the verified service providers. There's no uncertainty, no middlemen, just real help for real needs. CloakedCare.com was founded by Marine Corps veteran Leighton Clybourne and was named the best anonymous bill payment service in the United States for 2025, honoring its transparent and innovative approach to modern giving. At CloakedCare.com, every contribution makes a measurable impact, keeping a home warm, a phone connected, or the lights on during a tough month. It's people helping people quietly, respectfully, transparently. CloakedCare.com. That's CloakedCare. Visit today to ask for help or to be the help someone's been praying for. CloakedCare.com. This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you they're making it through the year. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow, the 5-pack, for just $29.98. Get the My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25. And a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-716-4879 and use the promo code KANE to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now just $14.98. Queens, $18.99. Kings, only $1 more. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. So go to MyPillow.com, use our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, or call 1-800-716-4879. Promo code KANE for huge savings on your Christmas shopping. On the line, we have Joe Thomas, who we talk to quite often about annuities. And we talk a lot about the great benefits of annuities. Your money is never at risk no matter what happens in the stock market. You're guaranteed an income stream for the rest of your life. But Joe Thomas, there's also, this time of the year, tax season, there's great tax benefits to annuities as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what we're doing for clients right now before the end of the year is setting them up with an IRA annuity. A lot of people don't know that you can set up a Roth IRA and a regular traditional IRA with an annuity. Not only can you write off up to $8,000 if you're over age 50, but then you can make another contribution next year, which is going to be $8,600. And not only do you put the money away, but you get a bonus on it of 11%. So that's what we're doing for a lot of our clients. And putting your money away safely and guaranteed is a very big deal right now, Brian.
Call Joe Thomas and schedule your no-charge consultation, 561-743-0999. That's 561-743-0999. And if you missed the number, just go to his website, jupiterjoe.com. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Afternoon, Brian. It's Dr. Burnett out of California.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing. I don't know if you've heard, but I heard that this $1 billion fraud scheme actually more along the lines of being bigger and is there. I saw some stuff online that it's 8.
Yes, I saw that today. I think Fox might have reported that even. Yeah, I saw that earlier.
You know, I am beyond disgusted, and I cannot wait till this just actually, I mean, it's just imploding all around these people, and I can't wait for it actually to see a perp walk that I didn't even think I'd be able to see. I didn't have Tim Walz on my bingo card for perp walk.
No, not at all. Who did?
But I wouldn't mind it at all.
Who did? Yeah.
I mean, and I didn't have Omar on my bingo card for perp walks either.
So. Ilhan Omar, I would say there's a greater than 50% chance of her having her citizenship revoked and being deported.
Oh, excellent. I don't want her here.
Yeah.
And she doesn't, and technically the way that she acts, she doesn't want to be here either.
Well,
So,
I think she's trying to prepare herself for that, and she has a few $1 million. If they don't take it from her, she can set herself up somewhere, Qatar.
Oh no! You end up leaving with the exact amount that you came in with.
No.
Because, to be honest, she seems to be the conduit for all of this fraud.
That's
also,
right.
That mayor, the mayor's obviously involved.
Yep.
Because he seems to be like the conduit for the DNC to ensure that all these Somalis end up voting for Democrats, which is probably how she ended up paying for the votes, because I think I saw a very long time ago there was an expose about somebody going into these eateries and actually paying people to ensure that they go
what
and
happens?
vote.
What I'm curious about, and I'm sure they're looking into this. Whenever there's legislation in Congress, they have those earmarks, things that the individual members put on every bill, and I would really like to see the earmarks that she's gotten attached to all the legislation since she's been in Congress, and a lot of it probably has to do with this money that's being exposed.
Oh, yeah, you're totally right, because she's probably the one that funneled it, so she would create the legislation or the avenues.
That's how they funnel it.
Exactly. I have a quick question for you. There's been a lot of talk about Elon Musk, about like last week and the Doge stuff. From my understanding, when he came in with Doge, he was only allowed to be there for a specific amount of time.
Yeah.
Do you by chance know if it was yearly? Because if that's the case,
They never said.
Then because if it's a yearly sort of situation, that would make more sense. That's kind of a term that for country.
It was some type of job. It's some type of position that you don't have to get congressional approval for and such. I don't. They never said, but I'll tell you, we don't really know what happened with Elon, but I think there's a story right now that Laura Loomer's had her Mar-a-Lago guest list pass revoked. She talked to the president. She said something about it publicly earlier today. President Trump doesn't want drama around. And if you remember, Elon got into a physical altercation with the Treasury Secretary, Bassett. And
that's where he got that shiner, right?
That maybe that's what they say, And President Trump's very close to the Treasury Secretary. And he's and he just doesn't want drama people around. So I think that whether or not he could bring Elon back every year or something, I don't think he wants people around that are going to cause any drama. He's working he's working on it. I mean, Scott Bassett said on an interview, I played it this morning, that he got a call from the president at 1:52 a.m. and wanted to start calling foreign leaders in Europe because they were awake.
Well, the man is up when he needs to be up, and he's doing something when he needs to be doing something. I mean, he's so active. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm grateful that he is so active, because the last 4 years were just, the guy was asleep all the time. You looked great yesterday. I don't know where you were going, but you looked great, because I caught you doing like a short live. And then I sent an email in regards to the phone line thing, but keep up the great work.
I got that a few days ago. I took care of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care. All right. If you're on hold, hang in there. By the way, I meant to mention this morning. Did you see it looked like there was an assassination attempt on Zelensky. Was it in Ireland with some drones around his aircraft? I can't remember if it was in the UK. I want to say Ireland comes to mind. Oh, boy. How could something like that happen over the UK? Who knows? Maxine Waters.
The President of the United States is a killer. I am outraged at the way that on his own, without any consultation, he doesn't know whom they are, whether they're innocent or whether they're guilty. He should follow the laws. The laws does not allow or intend for the President of the United States to just kill anybody that he wants to kill.
Okay. Maxine Waters. Okay, there's a reason why I play it. She's talking about President Trump taking out these drug cartel boats. Maxine Waters is a very old lady. She's very corrupt. She has a mansion that's the size of an office building. It's like over 5,000 square feet. You know, she's very wealthy. A lot of corruption going on. But this is, you know, it's so strange how, you know, when one of the things when you grow old, as you get older, and you kind of follow these people. I remember when Maxine Waters first came to Congress, it was around the time, it was during the day of Rodney King, OJ, the LA riots and all that stuff. And she was obviously a lot younger, and they hadn't opened up the books of corruption in D.C. to her yet, although they have since. Max was new in Congress. It was right after the LA riots. I can't remember what year she came to Congress, but like first time I remember knowing who she was, and she was new to Congress. She was a freshman, was around the LA riots, and she introduced, this was after they burned their town down. She introduced a reparations bill to buy new clothing for the residents of South Central who lost their personal items during the rebellion that she called it, right? I mean, they were the ones that were looting all the stores. They had all the clothes they needed. But she was one of the leading voices in the 90s. In the 90s, there was a big trend with black Democrats, not just in Congress, but in general around the country. And what it was this, and she was a part of this trend. Crack was big. Right now, it's all about fentanyl. But in the 90s, it was all about crack cocaine. Meg talking about how the government was behind the drug trafficking, was behind the drug cartels, that the CIA was funding the drug cartels, and that all of the crack in the inner cities in the black community was brought there by the CIA. She used to talk about this all the time. She wasn't alone. Most black Democrats did. And now here she is. That was in early 1990s, 92, 93, 94. And here we are 30 years later, and then some, and all of a sudden, she's in bed with the deep state defending the drug cartels that she was on. I saw her screaming about it so many times. She was younger, a lot younger. She's not aged well, but she was one of the biggest voices trying to take down the drug cartels with the deep state, because they were poisoning and destroying the black community with the drug cartel drugs. So here we have 30 some years later, President Trump is doing what she came to Congress screaming about, and she's out there attacking him for doing what she was begging people to do 30 years ago. Take down the cartels.
The President of the United States is a killer. I am outraged at the way that on his own, without any consultation, he doesn't know whom they are, whether they're innocent or whether they're guilty. He should follow the laws. The laws does not allow or intend for the President of the United States to just kill anybody that he wants to kill.
Isn't that something? So what's happened? What's happened in the last 30 some odd years with Maxine Waters? You know what's happened? She's got a big old mansion, right? She's got the big old mansion, and they opened the books up to her a few years ago. So now she doesn't care about the black community. She doesn't care how many people are overdosing, because her and her family are set up with enough money that no one in her family will ever have to want or work again. It's really it's really insane how corrupt. She was corrupt back then, but she's just totally rejected everything that she came to Congress to do, right? Because she sold out. All right, now, if you're on hold, hang in there. Steve Bannon, he was talking about the pipe bomber.
It's unbelievable. I just don't believe Chris Wray. No, because the narrative would have been completely different. Mm-hmm. If you had a BLM associated, if you had some anarchist, some radical, some left-winger as the pipe bomber, and this is why people, Raheem and Darren Beatty and Julie Kelly, years ago, for those who have been with the show over a number of years, particularly in January of 2021, you know what a big deal this was. The whole narrative would have been changed. You wouldn't have had the prime time J6 committee, which was totally phony. You wouldn't have had any of that.
Yeah. So what he's talking about here is, what I was talking about this morning, and I'm glad to hear Steve Bannon talk about this. We now know that the Biden administration, the Wray FBI, we know this. They identified the bomber, and they didn't do anything about it because he's African American and he's a leftist. Now, CNN today is trying to tell us he was MAGA. Can you believe this? MAGA, all of a sudden. Really? Give me a break. He was not MAGA. But they want to portray him as MAGA. Talk about gaslighting, right? CNN, they're losing their minds. I mean, Fake Tapper yesterday was saying that he was white. He's not. Now they're trying to say on the same CNN that he's a MAGA guy. But what Steve Bannon said is right. They made the decision because to not pursue or arrest. If they arrested him, their narrative that this white supremacist, white nationalist, Christian nationalist, white movement of MAGA tried to overthrow the government and attack the Capitol building would have gone out the window. That's why they made the decision to let him get away with it. And they would have been happy for him to get away with this forever and never have seen justice, And Ray and them aren't worried because they did not destroy evidence. Remember what, Bongino and Kash Patel said? They didn't interview any new witnesses or seek out any new evidence. It was all there. It was just a mess. They had all the evidence. They just messed it all up so it was a needle in a haystack, and it took them a few months to go through it and nail down who the pipe bomber was, but they found him. So Ray and his team, they didn't destroy evidence, so they figure they've committed no crime, or at least not a crime that they're going to be able to get them on. So they're not worried. But, that's exactly right. It would have destroyed their narrative because their plan was, they never envisioned that Trump would be back. It's a miracle. They never envisioned this. That's why they shot him in Butler and tried to do it again at the golf course when they saw through the polling, the internal polling, it was going to happen. And their plan is to outlaw the MAGA movement, to declare it a domestic terrorist organization and hate group and outlaw it. And if the pipe bomber were black and a leftist, which he is, on both counts, it would have prevented that narrative. And you remember, they were bending over backwards, getting grandmas and grandpas, tracking them down through Facebook posts and throwing them in jail. They knew exactly who this guy was, believe me. I'm curious as to when they identified him. We don't really know. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Are you looking for a gift that lasts a lifetime? One that's personal, powerful, and proudly American-made. At Back 40 Metalworks on Etsy, that's Works, W-O-R-X. They turn ideas into steel. Since 2010, Back 40 Metalworks has been crafting over 200 unique metal art designs, from wildlife and rustic decor to modern wall pieces and custom creations. With more than 30 years of experience working with metal, they know how to shape your vision into something extraordinary. Need a personalized welcome sign for your home? A company logo? A one-of-a-kind Christmas gift? Something for mom or dad on their day? Or any other day of the year? Every piece at Back 40 Metalworks is built to last, indoors or out, and every design tells a story, your story, in steel. Visit the shop online right now. Back40metalworks.etsy.com. That's W-O-R-X. And view the inventory. You will be impressed. Back40metalworks.etsy.com. They turn ideas into steel.
This is George Colony. I'm in the real estate business in Fort Lauderdale, Florida with Kai's Real Estate. I've been in business for 6 decades. People often ask me, what's the right time to buy or sell real estate? To tell you the truth, it's always the right time. You just need to have the right advice from the right advisor. You could call me anytime because I answer my phone on the first ring. My number is 954-801-7320. That's my personal cell phone number. And I answer it on the first ring every time. Please give me a call. I'm happy to answer any question that you have. My cell phone number is 954-801-7320.
We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Hank from Hollywood. How you doing?
All right, Hank. What's on your mind?
I called Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. He sent out Scott. Now, Scott is absolutely the best. Scott and Scott's crew are the absolute best. They gave me a great price. They did the job when they said they were going to do it. They finished the job when they said they were going to do it. The materials they used, absolutely the best. I want to thank Tom. I definitely want to thank Scott, and definitely want to thank Scott's crew. These people are number one, and I just want your listeners to know, Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. If you need a new roof, call Tom at Tom Laporta Roofing. You're not going to go wrong. You're not going to be disappointed.
Do what Hank did. Call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602, and online, laportaroofing.com. Hey there, it's Brian Craig. You've heard me tell you about how Dr. Appleton has rid me of pain with his laser away pain treatment. Shoulder injuries, arthritis, knee pain, all gone, and more. But don't just take my word for it. Monica called me live on the radio to tell me how Dr. Appleton rid her of pain.
Brian, my name is Monica. I'm from Boca. I'm calling because several weeks ago I had a lot of pain on my knees, and I went to see Dr. Appleton. He relieved me from my knee pains. I can walk. And this week, I went to see him. I had excruciating pain on my hand, and I had a treatment. And I just want to say out there to everyone, it works. It really works. I am pain-free from my hands. He's amazing. Friendly staff. He's wonderful. And I highly recommend him. And I thank you so much for the recommendation. I'm very grateful.
Call Dr. Appleton right now and say bye-bye to your pain, too. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. Online, AppletonCairo.com. All right, we're back. Yeah, so this is Fox Today on Ilhan Omar.
All right, this news just breaking moments ago. Fox News has obtained photos of one of the Somali illegal immigrants wrapped up in the Minnesota fraud scandal, posing with several high-profile Minnesota Democrats, including Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Governor Tim Walz. The man pictured is Abdul Dahir Ibrahim. He entered the country in 2000 and has had an order for removal since 2004. He also has a prior conviction in Canada for asylum and welfare fraud. ICE tells Fox News Ibrahim was granted temporary protected status for 10 years, but should have never been eligible. We are going to have more on this in our next hour. Yeah, and you see Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz time and time again. Megyn Kelly had, did any of you see this? Megyn Kelly had Kash Patel on. And this was, he shot down a couple of things. She had asked him about these assassination threats that she's been claiming from France. And what was the other thing she asked him about? There was one other thing. Hold on. That Turning Point USA had something to do with the assassination and foreign governments, and he shut down both of them. Candace Owens is definitely a crazy person. Do you guys agree with that? Crazy person? Yeah, I think she's nuts. But, the biggest problem we have with the new media is that there's so many people in it like her that are really big, have a huge reach, and even if they're not crazed like she is, all they care about is the view count and the retweets and the shares on each drop that they do.
And they will say or do whatever they've got to say to get that. You know? And I was watching The Quartering, Jeremy from The Quartering. And he seems to be a very stressed person. And he was covering the Candace Owens thing. Candace Owens, and then he said something really weird. He said, well, the reason I'm talking about this because it's the only thing that's really trending right now. Weird. So that's how he decides what he's going to talk about. It has to be trending on X, and if it's not trending on X, he doesn't talk about it. That's the new media, right? But Candace Owens, this thing about the death threats, and when you're a public person talking about politics, all of us get threats from time to time. It's something, I talked about this, so I'm not going to get into it too much, but when this thing that recently happened with Benny Johnson, the way Benny Johnson handled it is how you handle it. You don't talk about, you go to law enforcement and they take care of it. And more often than not, they take care of it and you still don't talk about it and it doesn't become public. Okay? And a lot of people that are, I've seen this happen with radio people over the years. A lot of people that are broadcasters, Candace Owen, broadcasters and that. A lot of people like to think, they like to create the impression that they're constantly getting threats. And the reason they do that is not just for attention, that's part of it, but they think it gives credibility to what they're saying. What they're saying is so true. They're dropping such truth that people want to kill them to stop them from saying it. This is a common thing that I've seen with people that do shows my entire career. And it's just disgusting. There was this one guy, he's passed away, so those of you that are longtime listeners of mine, you may remember this name if you're a longtime listener, Rick Siderman. Rick Siderman was a radio talk show host in Miami. He and I did not get along. He was good friends with Steve Kane. They actually went to middle school together in Miami a long time ago because, he died in 2009, so he's been gone for a long time. And he was a Republican, and he was a really nasty person. And he got calls like I do, right, of people that hated him on the air, getting nasty. And he used to go around telling people that he was getting not just death threats, but threats that they were going to put a bomb in his car. And, of course, this was completely bogus. And we worked at the radio station together. The radio station was a bunker, and it had about a 10 or 12-foot razor-wired fence around it, like a prison. You couldn't get in unless you had a security code to get through this guard gate and everything else. But he actually did. He was like, he knew it was bogus, and he was making it up to give himself more credibility. And he got into method acting with it. And he had said that he had talked to a cop, and a cop told him, if your car, since you've got these they're going to bomb your car, these threats, when you get in your car, when you start the car, don't put on your seatbelt and don't close the door. Start the car without your seatbelt on with the door open. Because if the bomb goes off, it'll blow you out of the car. And he went, and everybody knew he was full of it because we were all on the radio station pissing people off, and he's the only one getting it was bogus. But he would go out in the parking lot, and he would open his door as wide. I remember he had a 300ZX. He had a 300ZX. He would open that door up as far as it would go and start it up, and everybody would be looking out the window. He did it, and he's like, good, I didn't get blown up. And then he'd drive away. And that's what Candace is doing. If she's getting the threats, from France, it gives credibility to the craziness that she's been sharing. That's what it is. I've seen it so many times. Because if it was true at that level, she would be taking serious precautions. She's a married woman with young children. She would take care of it in a proper way, not deal with it on her podcast like she's doing, okay? I promise you. And whatever. But she's discredited herself. When she first went down this road, I told people, I said, don't worry about it. She's going to go so far, she'll discredit herself. And people are watching her and listening to her, but it's like the car accident on the side of the road or a train derailment. It's a freak show. That's what people are tuning in such high numbers for, to see how crazy she's going to get. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. It's Sue from Aventura. How are you?
All right, Sue. What's on your mind?
I have agreed with you for 10 years, everything you said.
But?
Except for Candace.
Okay.
Something is just telling me something very strange here going on with the people, how they're acting. Did you see all the videos that the people had of, like, this guy with, supposedly doing it over here, shooting over here, this one over here? Those videos seemed very, very, very strange to me. Mm-hmm. You don't think those videos seem strange?
I haven't seen these videos you're talking about, but this is what I know. Okay. If she were really getting threats at that level, we wouldn't know about it. She can contact very important people and get them on the phone, even though they're pissed off at her. No. She would be in an undisclosed location with herself and her husband and her young children. Okay, you know, Stephen Miller and his wife. Stephen Miller and his wife are living on a military base right now, as are other members of the Trump administration. They don't talk about it, but they are. They're getting so many threats. She would be off in an undisclosed location with incredible amounts of security that would be provided to her by the federal government. But none of that's happening. So no, I don't. Now that doesn't mean that she doesn't believe it, because she is nuts.
You really think she's nuts, huh?
Oh, she's completely insane.
I'm not. All right, I'm not seeing it. I agree with everything you said. Since day one, I've been watching you.
Well, that's okay.
I'm shocked that you're
if
saying
you've
this about
let me tell you something. If you've agreed with me on everything you've heard me say, except this one thing, you and I agree a lot more than my wife and I agree on things. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. That's okay.
I just hope we get to the truth about everything.
I'm jaded by it because I've seen so many people fake it, and I've been through this myself with people over the years, and the recent example with Benny Johnson is how you handle it. When you have threats, you don't go on YouTube and talk about them. You go to law enforcement, you know, I had a thing happen years ago where the police were involved, local police were involved in an investigation with someone that was doing something with the federal postal inspectors and other law enforcement agencies. They were wearing a wire and were having conversations with suspects, and they had me listen to the recordings from the wire to identify the voice from the callers that were a caller that was doing something that I'm not going to mention. I didn't tell people about that. They dealt with it. It was many years ago. That's why I'm talking about it now. Benny Johnson, we didn't know about that thing with Benny Johnson until they got the guy, and they had the press conference with Bondi and all that, right? You know, and because he's got a wife and he has young children. And he did things in a much different way than Candace is not behaving like people that are really going through that.
I understand. See, but now being a woman, a little bit, maybe I'm be on Candace's side. I understand where she's coming from. Though I would be like, let me get on TV and tell everybody because I'm scared, you know.
No, you don't do that.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a reason why you don't do that. The reason you don't do that is you don't want to tip them off. Right? You go to law. You know, I'm probably talking too much about this now, but you go to law enforcement, and they do an investigation, and you don't want to
Right.
tip the person off.
Right.
All right?
I just wish there's enough would just please stop. Everybody just love each other. Enough of this. Everybody's tired. Just be happy, everybody.
Well, you know, I get the only reason I was listening to Liz Wheeler. She did like this 10-minute, she was talking about something with the influencers. She did like this 10-minute disclaimer. I don't like to talk about gossip between conservative influencers and da-da-da-da. The reason I talk about it is not so much to gossip. It pisses me off, right? We have done the impossible, right? We have President Trump back in the White House. And some of these people are screwing everything up by all this division that's going on. They're screwing it up. We should be united. It pisses me off.
I don't think it's dividing us, though. I just think it's making us talk about it more. I don't think it's dividing MAGA, though. My opinion.
No, I don't think it divides real MAGA people, but it messes up. It messes up the agenda. And it messes up the messaging in the news cycle. I mean, look how we got bogged down. We got bogged down on the Epstein stuff for weeks, a few months, and that happened because at Turning Point with Tucker and Charlie before he died was killed and all that. Remember they had that big whole thing at the Turning Point event going on and on about the Epstein files, and that opened up a bunch of crap it was a mess for a few. It's been taken care of. But no, these are distractions that really distract. Hey, appreciate the call, but take care. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Jeremy, and I'm calling from Texas. How you doing, Brian?
Hey, Jeremy, can you turn down the volume of whatever that is in the back? I hope it's me you're listening to?
Yeah, it was actually.
Great show. I love that show. I thought that was my favorite show in the background.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite ones. I drive to work to listen to you in the morning.
Yes. Well, I appreciate it. Well, so what's on your mind?
So I just wanted to go back to the Candace thing. I think I agree with that other caller. Like, I agree with you on most things, right? So I'm wondering, would Candace get the same protection as a governmental employee, though?
No, but Candace is a millionaire. And if when it involves... See, like I had, you know how Benny Johnson had the thing with the mail, the letters and stuff he was getting?
Yeah.
Okay, I had something like that happen years ago, and there were federal and there were federal agents involved in it.
Dear Lord.
Because it involved the mail and interstate stuff, so there were federal agents involved. So while you're not a government employee, the feds would get involved, and Candace Owens is a millionaire, so she could afford private protection, and
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, and I think like she's probably in a pretty undisclosed location right now, doing her live streams, whatever else.
Is she still doing it in her same studio she normally uses?
She could be, or she set up a new one. We don't know. I mean,
looks like the same place to me. But see, this is what I was telling you. When these things happen, and Benny Johnson, he probably doesn't want to talk about it because it's so fresh. This thing that just happened, you know. But you know, it's scary, and I mean, one of the things I had to go to my daughter's school and do things. It was these things get really scary. You don't talk about it on the show because they're trying to find the people that are threatening you, and you don't want them to know that they're onto them.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying. I just think
that's how they catch them.
It's just been going on too long, though, and there's kind of that thing about receipts, and she kind of brought receipts a little bit. I know it's not exact documentation, whatever you want, but, I mean, it's enough to get you thinking, asking the same questions, right? And the DOW, when they denied that Cam Higby question, that was a little weird in my opinion. Like, you knew about it. It's definitely something on your radar.
If she was being, if the threats were credible, Kash Patel would take care of it. I mean, he's got security on his girlfriend, and he's getting a lot of bad publicity from it, too. You know, there's a story today that he had the FBI drive his girlfriend's drunk friend home or something, and was yelling at them. I don't know, I don't know how true it is. It's in the media. How much do you believe? She knows these people.
Yeah.
They would take care of it now. And why would Macron be doing something like that? He's got a very good relationship with President Trump. What would that do if that were true? What would that do to his relationship with President Trump, an American citizen?
Yeah, I agree. They do have a good relationship, but I just think that maybe there's just stuff behind the scenes, stuff in the past, stuff back in the 80s, things like that we don't talk about much. We just act like it's a new century, whatever.
What do you mean?
We're on to the next.
What do you mean?
Thing.
What's that got to do with Candace? Like, what do you mean?
Well, the history from Macron. If you were to agree with most of the premise that she set up and showed the documentation for with Macron, all the issues from that.
Maybe this is just me. I just don't care about the French president and the French first lady. I care about, who cares? Why, whether what she said is true or not, I have less than zero interest in that. Something happened with it,
For this TPUSA debate.
What's that? Well, the turning point thing. Now that's another thing, and this and this I meant to mention this with the last caller, and it skipped my mind. Candace Owens made an offer to Turning Point that she would debate them anytime, any place. No prearrangement was needed. They could name the time, name the place, and she'll be there. And they did it. They called her on it, and she didn't show up. Well, of course she can't show up. She's got death threats now. All of a sudden, what a great out that is.
You're right. I didn't think about it like that. It's pretty funny, the timing on all of that.
It's really a shame because she did so much good work for us in the first campaign, and and I know. There's a lot of MAGA people that agree. I don't dislike her. I'm pissed off that she causes a lot of division, but
yes,
in our movement, and I think it's kind of creepy. She showed more text. She showed a text message this week that Charlie sent her years ago before he was married. He was getting ready to go on a date.
I know.
Did you see this? And he showed a picture of himself and asked her, should he wear that shirt? Who keeps text messages like that? To me,
that's creepy at that point.
Isn't it creepy to keep old text messages like that? That's why my text messages are like 1 or 2 words. I just, a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, texted me something today, and they're asking me a question. I said, I'll tell you in person. And I could put it in writing, but it's nothing bad or anything. But I just don't put anything in writing. And I don't like people that keep text messages, especially for years. I find that such a violation.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think that's creepy?
Yep. Yes, sir, I do. Yeah. I really thought it was, and so I'm just ready for the TPUSA debate. Really, I think that'll clear the air, or it should.
I don't know if it will, and I'll tell you why. Candace Owens, she is. I've seen her in person at. There was I can't remember the name of the event. It was a National Christian Tour, Freedom something conference, and President Trump spoke there, and Don Jr. and a bunch of people, and she spoke. And Tucker Carlson said when he was, I think it was Nick Fuentes he was talking to, somebody was talking to recently, that she's like a movie star in person. Oh no, Michael Knowles. He had Michael Knowles, Tucker, Michael Knowles. She has movie star charisma in person. She does. She does. And those guys at Turning Point are nice guys. They have zero charisma, right? They're Charlie Kirk's board ops and behind the scenes people. They're good guys. Don't misunderstand me, but they don't have any charisma. They don't have stage presence, and they're not skilled debaters. Candace Owens has celebrity, charisma, and she's highly skilled debating. She would clean their clocks, probably, even though she's found a way not to do the debate. Maybe she can't face them. I don't know. Maybe she wants to prolong it. But I don't think those guys. I think those guys are overconfident, and she's underconfident with that. Mm-hmm.
I think I'm on the same side with you right now.
All
I
right.
don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm hoping it will.
Yeah, you know, I turned on the Charlie Kirk show today just to see who was there. The guy that was there, he was nice and all, but these are not personalities.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah,
all right,
I
appreciate the call. Take care. If you'd like to support my content, become a Patreon supporter. If you become a Patreon supporter, you get commercial-free editions of my podcast episodes. You get access to a lot of exclusive things that my wife and I post to the Patreon page. The Patreon page is kind of, it's a social media platform, really. It's just a private social media platform. My wife and I, it's kind of like in the format of a Facebook group, but it's not Facebook, it's Patreon. My wife and I post things there we post nowhere else. Plus, I also do live streams on the Patreon platform for Patreon supporters only. That is only available to paying Patreon supporters. It's a no troll zone, no trolls, and it's kind of like this. It's when I do the live streams on YouTube, you know, it's casual. I talk about a lot of things I don't talk about here and give you a lot of behind the scenes. And Patreon supporters, you have access to that. And if you become a top Patreon supporter, you get your name up on the screen here on YouTube, and you get a live on-air thank you shout out on every episode. So the names you'll hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SFjr, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, and Doris. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the episode on whatever platform you're listening on, or you can go directly to patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. Patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. My name is Brian Craig. I will talk to you next time. Take care.